And now, turn your eyes to the stage for our next hosts for the next event. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Oren. I'm the director of the film Ruckus. I'm a co-curator, thank you, co-curator of Room Party, an exhibition of contemporary furry art held in Pittsburgh this past summer. And of course, I'm a beloved adjunct faculty member at the University of Memphis.
And I'm Atmos. Atmos intro.
That's, sweetie, that's stage directions.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm Atmos, or Addie Boy, or Tommy Bruce. I'm an artist and lapsed academic who has been making artwork with and about the furry community for over 15 years.
Ever since last year, critters from across the woods have gathered together to share the latest breakthroughs in furry studies. But did you know that autoethnographic academic research is only one of the many cultural artifacts produced by our community?
That's right, Oren.
Do it like that's right, Oren.
Yeah, more kind of like a,
Yep.
A Dick Cavett or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. That's right, Oren. Art has always played a central role in the furry fandom. Furries do not just produce or consume art. We use it as a tool for self-exploration and as a way to see others as they want to be seen. Art is integral to our loves, our friendships, and our entire way of life.
Furry artists enable us to imagine better futures. They help us discover new desires, and they help us to become something other than what we are. And importantly, they are the ones training the algorithms that will soon do all of this for us. That's why that's why we think it's important to include artists in this conversation. Now, these might not be the artists you look at on a daily basis.
Glow Possum is speaking later this afternoon,
Yes.
so...
But they are the artists who we feel are expanding the boundaries of furry. They are taking furry art into new spaces. They are building on lives lived in the furry community. They are critically engaging with the fandom as well in a way that we feel aligns with the work being done by the scholars and theorists at this conference. Farther, faster, furrier, Atmos, the envelope, please. Thank you. Okay.
And the nominees are...
All right. First up is...
Do we have...
All right. First up, Mark Zubrovich. Mark Zubrovich is an artist living in New York. Their father is a deacon in the Catholic Church, and his mother worked for a company that made Halloween costumes. Mark has had solo shows with Richard Heller Gallery in LA and the James Black Gallery in Vancouver. Okay, next up.
And following Mark, Ivy Nuss. Ivy is a German writer whose family grew up near one of the biggest and most beautiful nuclear plants in Russia. Her new book, RONO, deals with the transsexual aesthetics of death and furry and was awarded the literary grand prize of the German Literature Fund.
Our third presenter, oh my gosh, Meryl Streep, everybody. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Wow, she's good in everything. And doing some great work with bird sonas.
Yes, it's the avian turn in Furry Studies, is I believe what she's focused on. And finally, Lane Lincecum. Let's see, Lane is a creature currently living in Pittsburgh. He is an artist, curator, teacher, and publisher. Lane, with me, was one of my co-curators for Room Party. And before that, operated Toxic Metal Press, a micropress for comics and zines. Also, I believe, taking fursuit commissions. Just saying. And now let's turn it over to our first presenter. Oh, I took your line. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say
That's
something
so
funny,
sweet.
so I'll just say it now.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, the sky must be dark because the stars are all out here tonight.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you. And now, it's still my
I was
line.
going to do it again. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
I'll go away.
No, don't leave me up here. Okay, and now let's turn it over to our first presenter, coming to us live via satellite from Furpocalypse, Mark Zubrovich.
I hope everybody can hear me and see me. Let me share my fun little screen here. So I have a presentation here about my work, and it's called My House is on Puppydog Avenue. I want to acknowledge that I'm here live from Furpocalypse here in Stamford, Connecticut. And I want to be the first to admit, Atmos said that he is a lapsed academic. I am not even a lapsed academic. I'm pretty far from an academic. So I want to give thanks to and encourage you all to see the lecture by Belle Walston that's happening later today. They are going to give a little bit more context in my work in probably a more academic fashion. So I get to get a little bit more in depth here. So definitely stick around for that. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to talk about my work and myself. If you don't know me, my name is Mark Zubrovich. I am a painter from New York. Sorry, I'm going to have a lot of fur in my hair, in my mouth. I make paintings in oil and acrylic, some of which are small scale, some of which are really huge. My work is figurative in nature, though I deal more with imagined bodies than any quote unquote real person. I've been a furry since I was around 13. I've been making art about furries and furriness since around 2016, and I've been out as a furry since 2020. If you know or have seen anything about my work, you know that I make work about dogs. I actually am a dog right now. Most of the subject matter in my work of the last few years has been focused on self-portraiture, so the dogginess in me and the dogginess that you see around me. My name is Bruce. Everybody, say hi to Bruce. Yeah, perfect. So Bruce is my persona. He manifests in paintings and drawings, but I'm also him in this sort of softer, meatier space that we're all in right now, virtually and otherwise. I want us to think of Bruce as all of these things at once: painted object, dog thing, fursuit, persona, self-portrait, thing suspended, object and mirror. When I paint about Bruce, he and I are one, even though we sometimes appear as separate bodies. When I paint Bruce, it's often on very rough and abrasive materials. I like to mix sand and tiny rocks into my paint, and I'll often sew into my canvases as I'm working on them by hand and with my sewing machine. I'm enamored with base surfaces like jute and burlap and unstretched canvas, which this big one you're seeing right now is on. I love fabric that acknowledges that it's fabric, something with a weave so thick that I can't ignore it and you, the viewer, can't ignore it. I am attracted to it because I've always loved unnecessary problems in the studio, but I'm also attracted to it conceptually because it's a very tacit, upfront acknowledgement that I'm made of stuff, like I'm made of fabric and I'm made of paint. It's like, to get a little academic, it's sort of Clement Greenberg with a little bit of like shape-shifting TF. And with that, I find I find that Bruce takes on a widely sort of manic personality in the work. And if you know me, and especially if you see me full doggy, you'll know is really true to life. He's often up to some sort of manic mischief, some sort of pleasure or cathartic pain. And this is because Bruce was born out of a lot of trouble with my own body. I had my sense of smell permanently damaged by COVID in 2020, the first wave that swept through New York. I had a very cinematic and dramatic broken foot in 2021, which that painting is about. You can see this was installed with Tommy at Wild Desire in New Mexico. And I have a whole bunch of other internal and external body trauma that kind of spurred Bruce into existence. The need to be on a fluffier sort of non-human thing was way too strong for me to ignore. And I think that his design attitude reflects this. He has these big glowing yellow eyes and bright blue fur, which betrays a creature of great intensity. Bruce can canonically see, hear, and most importantly, smell on a supernatural capacity. There is something sort of burning behind those pupils. Bruce is allowed to cry when he gets flowers as a gift. He's allowed to pick the fruit in the garden. He is allowed to gnaw at a wound until it's a gaping hole in his guts, and he will definitely sniff you. Bruce is often a vehicle for exploring the pleasures of the senses, and the stuff he's made of begs you to come in close, to tempt you with physical sensation. One of the reasons I switched to oil paint back from acrylic is that oil paint stinks. Being a dog is a multisensory experience, and in the correct context, in person, a painting is as well. I, as a painter, have found so much fruit in self-portraiture as a mode of operation because furry has so much fruit to offer the medium. We as people are always going to find narrative in figurative art because bodies tell a story just by existing. And an artist depicting their own body using their own hands is always necessarily a political act, reflecting yourself upon the world you come from with the materials available to you. Furries must necessarily engage in this political act to become furries. Our community's barrier to entry is essentially and purposefully an act of self-actualization. The creation of a persona demands curation, and it demands curation of things you desire to put upon yourself. Without furries to guide me, I likely would have never ventured into self-portraiture because honestly, I don't ever see myself venturing so deeply into a journey of self-love without furries. Bruce is an allowance to shapeshift into situations and states of beings that are able to reach deeper human depths precisely because Bruce is not human. When you present yourself as a blue dog, people treat you like one. I used to get the why dogs question a lot from people digesting my work, but in the advent of Bruce, that has all but disappeared. It's no longer a question because I am clearly a dog. Before I was out as a furry, I was making art that's similar, still anthropomorphic, but it was about baseball and about dogs, baseball dogs. I look back fondly on this work and I see it as a natural progression into the work I'm making now. And this work culminated in a show called Mutts and Good Boys at Bunker Projects in 2019, a space which I'm so proud to have become so important to the furry community at large. But I also look back on this work and I see an artist searching for a home and maybe just a little bit of plausible deniability. It's an exploration of a world I felt shut out of, an attempt to queer something very heteromasculine but homosocial. But it was also a way for me to paint about furries while having another conceptual through line that ran adjacent to furries while also always being about something else. Being a furry is a very weird thing to be, as we all know, and the new queer implications that were set before me took a long time to traverse before coming to the conclusion that denying myself the freedom to be an open furry was no longer a viable option. As you heard in my bio earlier, my father is a deacon in the Catholic Church, which means that he takes on all the duties of a Catholic priest, except for the sacred ritual of transubstantiation, the ritual that turns bread and wine into flesh and blood. And for most of my life, my mother worked for a corporation called the Ruby's Costume Company, which was once the largest maker and distributor of Halloween costumes in the world. My childhood home was full of scraps of witch and jester costumes, clown makeup, and intense Catholic iconography, Jesus merch. I was doomed to be a painter and a furry being in this environment, so steeped in a world where objects are sacred and hold great transformative power. One of the things I found so beautiful about exploring self-portraiture through furry is that it has unlocked in me a deep connection to animism. Catholics will never admit this, but it is an extremely animistic faith. Everything has a little symbol, everything has a patron saint, one of whom canonically has the head of a dog, Shadow Saint Christopher. You get the power of transubstantiation I mentioned earlier, the power my father is denied by being a married man, drilled into your head as a child. How through ritual, bread and wine becomes body and blood. When I think of this, I recall my time as the resident artist at the Liquitex Corporation in 2022, when they were beginning to phase out the process of their cobalt blue paint and switching to a cobalt blue hue. I remember panicking when I heard this development and I seized the moment. When I was there, I had a product order, and I asked them for all of the cobalt blue they had on hand. I did not ask them for a lot of it. I asked them for their entire stock, and they obliged. My reasoning behind this, I thought, was that cobalt is a rare element that is toxic, expensive, and notoriously exploitative to mine. So it's good that they're phasing out this material. But the more I think about it, the sense of panic that I have was actually because I have this secret sort of magical property in having my perfect blue always on hand. Bruce is cobalt. It's part of his stuff. Bruce is blue because partly as a representation of him as a fursona, an entity from another world separate from average earthly dogginess, but he's also blue because I fucking love the color blue. Making a fursona is about things that you are attracted to being put onto your body. It's a clay sculpture built from magic stuff that's allowed to walk amongst other magic stuff. If you've ever been fursuiting, you know that there's a moment where things click in your brain, and for a moment, you really are the thing you are embodying. It's total sublimation, a real shift in the mirror. I really am a big blue dog right now. This is me right now. And the guy walking past me in the suit and the fancy tiger outfit is actually a really fancy tiger guy. I often find myself desperately wishing to pull myself from my own skin, to be anything but the flesh vessel I am right now. And Bruce is an imperfect but efficient pathway to this, as a thing on my body and as a painting practice. I think Furry is capable of engaging with these new pathways of self-portraiture because we are true believers. You have to believe in the transhuman power of the fursona to really engage with Furry, and I had to become a true believer to paint about it. This is why Bruce needed to become a fursuit. A fursuit's not required to engage with Furry, but it was an extremely necessary step for me. I actually made my fursuit, and the process was just as ritualistic as finding my perfect blue. I'm here right now at Furpocalypse engaging with this new pathway. I am cobalt blue right now. Somebody with a fursuit with a big wide hips had to walk past me, so I have to move my table. I've only been doing furry conventions for 3 years, but it's massively affected me in my work. And I want to end my portion of this talk by reflecting on some things I'm going to work on in the future. The first is a series that I'm just beginning called the Dream Home series. This is a work in progress of a big, huge, 5 by 6 foot painting of a fictional house, a fictional room in my fictional house that is full of analog synthesizers and fake cats and a buffet table and my partner in the corner bringing me cookies. This painting, so much of painting and art is about excuses, and this painting is an excuse to gesture at a clearly fictional good life filled with love, pleasure, and unbotheredness. Alongside this, I'm making a series of small paintings right now, all on burlap. They're all close-up shots of my persona, Bruce's face, frozen in moments that appear somewhere between orgasm and death rattle. Sort of inversely from the dream home, these paintings exist because our community is under attack. I'm trying to make sense of how to properly resist the fascism that's coming quickly down upon us. And the thing I keep coming back to is simply being more of a faggot than I was yesterday. The ground is rapidly shifting underneath our feet as a community, and I found it more important than ever to engage with sexuality in this context. It's important that play and sexuality be a code I enforce in my work, and I think it's easy to forget when you're surrounded by other furries like we all are right now, that the work that we are doing is genuinely subversive. Sexuality will never be divorced from furry. It will never not be a theme in my work. Being an artist that's visibly queer, visibly a furry, means that you have to accept that some people are going to talk behind your back about how you probably fuck in the dog suit. Guess what? When I paint Bruce, I paint him as a creature uninhibited by the repressions of this fascism. Bruce looks like a furry. He looks like a faggot. He's made of faggy, furry stuff. When you're in the con space like I am now, you have to be a faggot. It's unrepressible, and I think that's what my work is about. Unrepressible faggotry. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
I'm Ivy. Hi, so nice to be here. I made a little video. I don't have a presentation, so I don't want to talk too much about me. And I thought I would make a talk that is a film about fairy in times of AI systems and the horrors of it, and how fairy is something holy, where we can truly escape the dead internet. Yeah, I don't know. Just roll it. Roll the. There used to be a rare bird that flew through the computer from time to time. This is the path of flight of the window dweller. It comes from nowhere, goes straight through the screen, and it leaves in an upward motion into the sky. It's a beautiful flight parabola, one that I rarely see nowadays. I want to bring back the bird. I asked, and someone told me that there was some kind of ritual, 12 little things that I had to perform. I tried reading more and more about it, but it became more complicated with each new information. And I got confused, and I had to lay down and sleep for 14 hours. This is how the bird might have looked like, or at least some variations of it. The window dweller. How nice it must be to be in love. I looked everywhere I could. I got really, really tired when I smoked way too many cigarettes, sitting alone on a park bench. I didn't talk to anyone. I shared my worries about the future of human dignity. Instead, I looked at specific images of fairies sinking into tar pits on Furfinity at night. I imagine it must feel really nice to sink into a tar pit, just sinking and sinking into that black pit, encompassed and embraced by the tar. These images kept repeating, but for some reason they didn't stop fascinating me. Please, I screamed, let me out of here. I have work to do, please. I could be your greatest fantasy. I could be the woman of your dreams if you save me from the tar pit. It was this endless repetition, like when a man draws the same mountain over and over again, that resides in the esotericism of furry fetish art online, repeating until we think into the tar pit ourselves. When Bo said that the window dweller would appear again once you point at it with your finger just in the right moment and the right place. Point at it with your finger or tap on it like it was a screen. I grew up with the idea the birds were not really birds, but security cameras with feathers that watch us. I never thought ill of the window dweller. I loved him. I loved his beak, claws, and his wings. The data was there before I was even born. Now it's extracting us like a bone marrow. Like we're a lamp somewhere in the Harz Mountains in 1874, and some doctors extract our blood for an experimental medical infusion or a spa treatment for the super wealthy. I hate it so much. I want to rip out my eyes and the nerves too, and lay them before me to look at them. I already know they're inside of me, but why bother? Why bother with a soul when we can look at the obvious over and over again? Sie haben sich bis hier oben vorgearbeitet. Jetzt wissen Sie nicht, was weiter. Sich Mühe geben allein nützt gar nichts. Die Artisten in der Zirkuskuppel ratlos. Rambling lights so stressful. Never stay long. Rambling lights so tiny. Oh, never stay long. Stone sit with feathers hollow. The claws are lost feathers hollow. And growing dead, the bird calls tremble. The waterfalls go on right. The bird calls tremble. This night, the waterfalls go on right. How old I am? Let the moon go hang. The stars go fly their kites. I want the stars go flying like kites. Tell me how old I am. The pyramidal shape of the mountain reveals a perfect intelligence within the universe, Internet writes. Sometimes its power to melt in mist reveals the infinite possibilities for matter to change its appearance. Or how Elizabeth Bishop writes in her poem The Mountain, at evening, something behind me. I start for a second, I blench, I staggeringly halt and burn. I do not know my age. Flowers in a mirror, eyelashes, and a camera too. Thank you. It was such an intense experience of just sitting here in silence, and I couldn't really hear anything, but thank you.
Okay, so hello, my name is Lincecum. I was one of the curators of Room Party, and today I'm going to be talking pretty much exclusively about that. It was the largest and most important project I recently contributed to, and I'm happy to say that all of the artists that are speaking here today were also involved in it, so it was very relevant to the conference today. And what I'm going to speak on specifically is how being part of this experience really changed but also solidified my feelings and principles towards our community and towards making art in general. So, oh no, is my presenter view gonna work? Okay, here we go. So why make furry art? I want to start by outlining a lot of fears and negative thoughts that come up in conversations about art nowadays. So kind of, like the world is really fucked up. Pretty much everything is going wrong simultaneously at the moment when it would be most crucial for us to really like figure out how to do it correctly. And we feel a critical point of being capable of losing absolutely everything we have within our lifetime so very quickly. And because of that, we also feel that we will have nothing to give future generations after we have passed. It feels like at the moment we're all invested in an incredibly trivial practice that only matters to us and our closest friends. And sometimes it feels like we are wasting our time trying to justify why we make art when we know that, within our lifetime, we will see the entire world tip into total catastrophe as it already has. And then at the core of that, what we're doing here today, grappling with the utterly insane and insignificant question of should furry be situated in a contemporary art context? It feels really ridiculous sometimes for this to be the main question I think about in my life between the times when I'm worried about my future survival. But in this time and place, we're always being asked to justify art. We're asked to quantify its meaning and benefit to society. And if we can't, we're expected to just knock it off. But some of us don't, or we can't. we naively keep drawing funny animals because there's something within us that needs to do that to survive. So, you know, if furry art doesn't matter, why can't I stop making it? When we were launching Room Party after nearly a year of constant work on it, we decided the tagline for the show ought to be furry art at the beginning of the world. This was both to be funny and have some delusional grandeur, but also we really felt the message and we were really genuinely motivated and excited in that moment. We realized through making this show that Room Party was not about an intellectual question like how to situate furry and contemporary art. We realized through doing it that it was a powerful action. It was us digging our heels in the ground, asserting our presence, and having a stake in our future. Throughout the 6 weeks that the show and programming were on, I had the opportunity to talk to dozens of people about their experiences with the show, and those conversations further confirmed this for me. So I want to share with you a few things that were said to me. The first being this snippet from a review in Artillery magazine of the show, written by Eileen Hobbit-Townsend. Quote, I want to make a case for this art's relevance to furry and human alike. The 90-odd works of art at Room Party are some of the best I've seen in years, in part because none of them turn away from the fact that it's 2025, not 1945. I had the privilege to get to hang out with Eileen a little bit while she was present for the show, and she came up to us at one point and said, being at Anthrocon has really made me realize that my art career has been about being at post-World War II abstract expressionism con, and getting out of that is really like making me think about some things or something to that effect. So, you know, to speak on the relevance of art to the world, sometimes what we take for granted as the canon of what we are meant to accept as being the most important form of art can really be broken down and questioned directly when we're in a place where the felt presence and importance of artwork is coming from a completely different place. Continuing with contemporary art people, we had a lot of career artists at the show, both showing their work and also just visiting and taking part in the experience. And almost every single one of them said to me in some form, this is the most fun I've ever had at an art show. And that was amazing to hear, both because, you know, I'm basically running a party for all these people, and it's nice to know that your friends enjoy hanging out with you, but also because when somebody says this is the most fun I've had at an art show, and you know that their career is based around having to go to art shows constantly, whether they want to or not, hearing that makes a really big difference. One of the events we did for programming was a workshop called Show and Tell, where the participants were invited to bring one piece of or an artwork that they had masturbated to, and then share some thoughts on that with the crowd for a discussion. It went really well. People really liked it. And after running that workshop, a friend of mine came up to me and said, I moved to Pittsburgh for a better quality of life. And this is quality of life. That was a moment where I really had to realize that living in Pittsburgh and having the opportunity to do this show where I live is part of this whole phenomenon of furries moving to specific cities to create real life scenes around our subculture, something that's like really burgeoning and new and still really like novel and almost a punchline. But that has genuine impacts on people's lives. Even doing something silly as this gives people a reason to relocate everything in their life around a certain place and group of people. Finally, when we were at Anthrocon, the convention, which was running concurrent with Room Party, I had the opportunity to present a panel where I talked about the show and some of our methods of curating it and gave some background and context information. And many of the artists who were present for that convention weekend actually got the opportunity to come up and speak on their experience being in the show and their work to the folks who came to the panel. It was great, and afterwards I got to speak to many people. There was one person who told me that they had always wanted to come to Anthrocon, but were kind of waiting for the right opportunity or excuse. And when they heard Room Party was happening, they knew they had to drop everything to go because it was just the culmination of everything that they were interested in and that mattered to them. And they told me in no uncertain terms about Room Party, this has given me hope for the first time in years. So why do we have to ask if our art matters if when people get to share and experience our art, this is what happens? It feels like really silly to like dwell on this, right? Like the question from the beginning, how to situate furry and contemporary art, this is just phrased in a more direct way. And when we put it like this, after everything that I have just told you I experienced, it feels really unnecessary. How can we ever quantify the efficacy of art? How can we explain why we need this to live? How can we rationalize spending all of our time, all of our energy, and literally choosing to go broke to pursue this? The most important thing that I want to share with you today is this. Room Party did not start when we got the gallery space booked, or when my co-curators and I met, or when each of us decided we wanted to be out as furries in our art careers. This has been a generational project in the making. It started a little over 40 years ago with a bunch of nerds piled into dark hotel rooms watching tapes of Animal Olympics and Tezuka cartoons. They were sweating and giggling and leaning into one another and feeling no resistance for the first time. It started when those people found their voices, fell in love, and decided that if something feels this good, there should be more of it in the world. This is my favorite picture that was taken during Room Party by Tommy. You know, every time you go to a convention, you're part of someone's first convention experience. You're part of someone's coming out, someone's unmasking, someone's first love, someone's first time feeling truly alive. You get to live and relive that every time you step into a furry space. And when you're not there physically, you get to share that with people through your art, your writing, and your music. If you are a furry artist, you have changed someone's life. What a show like this does is make a statement about the power of art that is felt beyond words. It has to be felt physically for you to know how it is. I hope that the takeaway from Room Party for everyone that was a part of it is that what we choose to do today gives us a stake in our future. Doing this show isn't just about creating a moment in time that some people get to experience and some don't. It's a promise to ourselves and the generations coming after us that this kind of happiness can exist at all. For most artists, the luckiest you can get is to be acknowledged for contributing something to the canon within your lifetime. Like even just being a footnote in a textbook that says you were one of the dozens or hundreds of people that contributed to some movement or moment in time that was memorable. But if you're a furry, you have nothing to prove. You're part of a community that doesn't need museums and schools and institutions and textbooks to understand what makes art important or how it shapes our lives. You live that in the most direct way possible every single day. What I learned firsthand from Room Party is that furry art is a living thing, and it wants all of us to live along with it. So thank you for your time. I feel like I ran short because I rushed because I'm nervous right now. And thank you to the organizers of the Furry Studies Conference for allowing me to present today. There's a lot more information about Room Party available online. Our website is room-party.com. I hope that all of you will continue to do what you're doing because now is a great time to be us.
I'm crying a little bit. But I don't think we have time for questions. Or
Time for one.
we might have time for one question.
Sorry.
What, there we.
Oh, do we have?
Oh. Oh, I saw Orion.
take one right
yeah.
Can the artist hear us?
Oh
No.
no, that's the thing.
That was a little bit of a yes and a no.
You could type it into the chat though. Or. Oh. Oh. Okay.
Testing, can you hear me?
Oh yeah. No, it's good. Okay. Yes.
So I feel like furry lets us think about our bodies in ways that nothing else really does. I host a figure drawing night at pretty much every furry convention that I go to that's specifically like focused on trans bodies, because a lot of people need to actually learn how to draw us as we are now today. How does furry help you make art about you that's like more honest than if you weren't making furry art? And I know like the persona, duh, but what lets you think about your body in more than just the aspirational and like the honest and personable way, I suppose?
I think the answer for me to that question is the sort of unlimited ability you get to exaggerate. Like I mentioned before in my talk that my persona has the ability to pick at a wound until it's a gaping hole. And I think the ability to kind of take everything beyond the human is the thing that has really kind of propelled me forward in this work. Like you can basically go anywhere.
Yeah, I think we are also very interested in the transcendence of this body and using all kinds of tools to transcend it. And furriness is so intertwined and interlinked to my own transness. Like there's this horrible, disgusting quote by a feminist theorist called Jim Greer, who once said, she hated trans women. Just because you cut off your dick and you wear a dress, you're not a woman. If I were a tail and a snout and long ears, I wouldn't be a fucking cocker spaniel. But I would say, what if you are Jermaine Greer? What if you are a fucking dog? And I think furry is a great way of, I mean, if you gotta believe someone is a woman, you gotta believe someone is a fucking dog, of course.
I would say my response to it would be that in a way it's like it's really, when you draw it, it's like it's not that deep, but it is. A quote that comes to mind is actually from Oren, who is up there right now. Very iconically said of the furry community that we're so stupid it's almost revolutionary. And it's like whenever I draw a piece of art or make a piece of art that really like is cathartic for me, I always look at it and like laugh and go like, this is crazy. So yeah, it's that.
We have two questions online. I'm going to give you both of them, and then we need to start for the next presentation in just a few minutes here. So this one's to Lane. How is Room Party contextualized as reconstituting the fandom's past and the present, especially as artists who hosted the first room parties are dying? Sorry that we have such a short time to answer a deep question. And then for Ivy, as a non-American furry, how do you navigate the Americanism of furry culture? So good luck. You have like a minute each.
So your question was, how are you? It just cut out a little bit. How are you? Something. People are dying.
You got it. Go ahead. No. How is Room Party contextualized as reconstituting the fandom's past in the present, especially as artists who hosted the first room parties are dying?
That's a very good question. I will think of that when I'm in bed tonight. But the off the top answer that I will give you right now is I really don't think that there's any reconstituting or recontextualizing or anything that's happening. I really think of it as like one big stream of things that are all completely the same despite their different like contexts and like circumstances. I think it goes back to what I said in my presentation of like, if something feels this good, there should be more of it. For the first conventions and room parties, they had the opportunity to create that hotel space that is now just like considered standard. And the point in time that we live in is we are established enough and have enough sway and capital under us that we can start doing this in other places, and people will accept it and pay attention. So I really think that it is the cycle of our lives that we put things out in the world and we just hope to see them turn into something else before we eventually pass. And I feel happy that I'm able to do that within my lifetime. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing many more room parties in whatever form they take blossom up all over the world in the years to come.
Oh, and the other question about the Americanism. Yeah, I love America. But I'm also very heartbroken about it. So I really, really wanted to go to Entrocon this year in America, but I couldn't. I made a little movie about it called I Really Want to Go to Entrocon 2025, but I can't. I'm afraid to enter the States because of my trainee ID. But this might be a good opportunity to connect more with the European scene that is also exploding, like the American scene as well. And maybe the American scene is 10, 15 years ahead of the European time in a way of like thinking about furry already. And I might be the only furry writer, published furry writer in Germany right now, and it gets lonely, but at the same time, I'm never really lonely. You're never really lonely as a furry. I love the silent applause.
We were all clapping and we all laughed at all of your jokes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you
you,
all
Vic.
very much for your presentations. We will get ready for the next panel soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.